Welcome back to my channel. Today, we dive into one of the most dangerous flashpoints in the world right now, the rising conflict between India and Pakistan in 2025. Tensions are boiling over after a deadly attack in Kashmir, sparking fears of a full-blown war between two nuclear powers. From military escalations to a looming battle over water, the world watches with bated breath. Stay with us as we break down what triggered this crisis, how both nations are responding, and what could happen next. Let's begin. What sparked the conflict? The current crisis began on April 22, 2025. In the tourist town of Pahalgam, Kashmir, militants opened fire on a group of Indian tourists. The attack was brutal. 26 people lost their lives. Many more were injured. Shortly after, a militant group called the Resistance Front claimed responsibility. Indian intelligence agencies linked the attackers to Lashkar-e-Taiba, a Pakistan-based organization known for its involvement in past terror activities. Within hours, Indian leaders accused Pakistan of supporting the militants. Pakistan, however, denied all allegations, calling for an independent international investigation. This deadly attack became the match that ignited old tensions between the two rival nations. Let's now move to how India responded to this deadly provocation. India's response was swift, aggressive, and multi-pronged. First, India sealed all border crossings with Pakistan. All visas issued to Pakistani citizens were immediately revoked. Trade was halted, and diplomatic channels were frozen. Most significantly, India announced the suspension of its obligations under the Indus Waters Treaty, a move unprecedented in modern history. For over 60 years, this treaty had survived wars and skirmishes. Suspending it signaled a severe escalation. Inside Kashmir, India launched an extensive crackdown. Security forces detained over 1,500 individuals linked to separatist activities. Suspected militant sympathizers saw their homes bulldozed under newly passed anti-terror laws. Military reinforcements flooded Kashmir. Armored vehicles, drones, and helicopters dominated the landscape. The message from New Delhi was clear: zero tolerance for terrorism. Now that we know India's reaction, let's move to Pakistan's counter-response. Pakistan, facing domestic and international pressure, retaliated sharply. Within 24 hours, Pakistan closed its airspace to all Indian flights. It expelled Indian diplomats from Islamabad and recalled its own ambassadors from New Delhi. All bilateral trade was suspended. In a historic move, Pakistan officially suspended the Simla Agreement, a treaty signed after the 1971 war to maintain peace and stability. By doing so, Pakistan signaled it no longer recognized existing diplomatic frameworks. Meanwhile, the Pakistani military was placed on high alert. Troop movements along the line of control intensified. Heavy artillery and missile batteries were moved closer to border zones. The situation was becoming dangerously unstable. Let's now shift to a critical and often overlooked dimension of this conflict: the brewing battle over water. Water war battle over Indus. Beyond military clashes, a new and deadly front has opened: water. The Indus River system, originating largely in India, is the lifeline of Pakistan. Over 80% of Pakistan's agriculture depends on water from rivers controlled upstream by India. By suspending its obligations under the Indus Waters Treaty, India could theoretically divert or block crucial river flows. The potential consequences are catastrophic. Without adequate water, Pakistan could face widespread drought, food shortages, and economic collapse. Pakistani leaders have already declared that interference with river waters would be treated as an act of war. In Islamabad, protesters chant, "Water is our life, we will defend it." Satellite images show Indian construction crews working rapidly near river dams. The threat of a water war, long feared by experts, has become a grim reality. Now, let's take a look at how the international community is reacting to this dangerous standoff. The world is watching, but action has been limited. The United States called for restraint and offered to mediate if both sides agreed. However, with its own elections nearing, Washington has avoided deeper involvement. China, a major regional player and close ally of Pakistan, urged calm but subtly warned India against any unilateral aggressive actions. Iran offered to host peace talks, citing concerns over regional instability. The United Nations issued statements of concern but stopped short of sanctions or peacekeeping interventions. Global markets reacted nervously. Stock exchanges across Asia dipped. Oil prices spiked on fears of wider regional conflict. Despite these reactions, there has been no decisive international intervention. The crisis remains dangerously contained within South Asia, for now. Let's now step back and understand why India and Pakistan seem trapped in an endless cycle of conflict. Historical roots of the conflict. The roots of the India-Pakistan conflict stretch back to 1947. When British India was divided into two nations, the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir remained undecided. India and Pakistan fought their first war over Kashmir within months of independence. Since then, they have fought two more wars, in 1965 and 1971, along with multiple smaller skirmishes and border clashes. Each conflict hardened nationalistic sentiments on both sides. Kashmir became more than just a piece of land, it became a symbol of national identity. Diplomatic efforts like the Simla Agreement and the Lahore Declaration offered brief hope but ultimately failed. Mutual distrust, nationalist politics, and a long history of violence keep dragging both nations toward confrontation. Today, with new provocations and old grievances, the cycle threatens to repeat itself, but with far greater risks, including the threat of nuclear war. Now, let's talk about what could happen next and where this conflict might be headed. What lies ahead? The path ahead is filled with uncertainty. One scenario is a limited war confined to Kashmir, a brief but bloody conflict that ends with international pressure forcing a ceasefire. Another possibility is a prolonged standoff, where both nations avoid direct war but continue aggressive posturing, cyber attacks, and proxy battles. The worst-case scenario remains an all-out war that escalates beyond Kashmir, involving missile strikes, large-scale casualties, and potential nuclear confrontation. Meanwhile, the economic cost is already mounting. Trade disruptions, investor panic, and refugee crises could destabilize not just India and Pakistan, but the entire South Asian region. Ultimately, diplomacy remains the only viable solution. Without dialogue, both nations risk plunging into a conflict from which there may be no easy return. As tensions rise, the choices made in the coming weeks will shape the destiny of two nations, and perhaps the entire region. Thank you for staying with us through this deep dive. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button. Subscribe to our channel for real-time updates on this conflict. And comment below. Do you think peace between India and Pakistan is still possible? Stay safe. Stay informed. See you in the next video.